We're going to take a look at the Singer Stitch Quick. Unlike a lot of the handheld sewing machines, this actually has a bobbin, so it'll do a traditional lock type stitch versus just a loop stitch. Here are the contents. Back here, there's a little hidden compartment. Here are the contents of the little storage area, a long stem to use a standard size spool of thread, a little adapter to refill the bobbin thread, 2 needles which are pretty standard size, 90/14, a threader, and 2 spools, white and black. You're supposed to use class 15 metal bobbins. I would add to these supplies a seam ripper to rip out mistakes, a scissors, and a tape measure. It takes 4 AA batteries. To insert the batteries, make sure the device is set to lock. The green slider is in the center. And now on the side, just push down. And there's not really a good outline. It does have it in the manual. It's positive on the bottom left, negative bottom right, negative top left, and positive top right. So it looks like that, and you just slide this up. And if it doesn't want to stay shut, put a piece of painter's tape on there. If you purchased a power adapter, it connects right here in the back. Before threading or unthreading, always set the green slide button to the center lock position. Let's take a look at threading the needle. It comes threaded, so take a note how it's threaded, and there's also a decent image in the instruction manual. So there's a 7-point checklist for threading the needle. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the one you're most likely to miss. That's 6. And then the needle itself, 7. So I'm going to remove the white thread and switch to black just so I can thread the needle. This does not unscrew, it just pushes in. And then always gently remove the thread from the needle. It will help your needle last longer. I'm going to use black thread for contrast. Make sure the thread comes off to the left of the spool and leave about 2 feet of thread, and you'll see why. Go ahead and put your stem in. Make sure your spring is in place, and this just pushes down. It doesn't screw on. Now let's do our 7 points of threading. Go ahead and snip off the end of the thread so it's nice and blunt and sharp. And if you need to, rub it on a little wax. So number 1 is this eyelet here. Number 2, we simply place it in between these 2 plates right there. You don't wrap it around or anything. It just goes right in between those 2 plates. 3 is this eyelet hanging down right here. Now if needed, turn the wheel to make sure this is up in the air, which I do. I have it up. 4. 5 is at the very front. Now 6, I'm going to turn the wheel at the top to lower the needle. 6 is often missed. It's a metal loop right on top of the needle. There's number 6. Number 7 is the needle itself. So I'm going to turn the wheel on top again. Go ahead and raise my needle. Okay. Now if you have really good eyes, you can thread it directly. It goes in from left to right. I'm going to use the threader. Mine's sort of mangulated, but it's this little tiny triangle wire. So I'm going to shove this in through the eye of the needle from the right side, there, And now, I don't know if you can see that, sort of there. And now I'm going to put the thread through that wire loop. There. See, it's through the wire loop. I'm going to pull it through. Yay! And now the top thread goes in between the split of the foot and to the back. So in between the split on the foot, this piece is called the foot, and toward the back. So I have both threads to the back. So again, remember the 7 points: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To sew, double check that the machine is threaded correctly. Make sure both threads are going toward the back. Remember, the top thread goes through the split in the foot and out toward the back. Make sure your needle's up. Make sure your foot is up using the lever in the back here, the green one. And now we're going to put some material in here. And if you want to make sure you have a straight line and not going back and forth, you may want to put a pencil mark or something here where you want it so you can guide your material through. Do not pull your material through. You can gently keep it on track, but don't pull it through. You'll skip stitches. Put the foot down. There's 2 methods of sewing. Always have it in the lock position until you're ready to sew. Switch it to handheld. In the handheld mode, it will only sew while you're holding the power button down inside the handle. If you leave it on desktop, the power button's like an on and off switch. You press it, it's going to sew until you press it again. So I'm going to leave it on handheld just for this time. My stitches look pretty good. The bobbin stitches look pretty good. And now I'm going to switch it to desktop. Once I press it, it's going to stay on until I press it again. There, off. Put it back in lock mode because accidents happen. And there's my stitch. Don't be dismayed if you have a hard time getting the perfect stitch. This is probably the biggest challenge with this machine, mainly because it's shrunk down. It's a micro machine. So if the top stitch is too tight, you want to reduce the tension, and you would turn your dial counterclockwise. Reduce, you see the little minus sign there? That reduces the tension. If the top thread is too loose, you would increase the tension. You would turn it clockwise toward the plus sign. Once you figure out the tension, the machine should be good to go. Worst case, if you could not loosen the tension good enough, totally unscrew this button and compress the spring a few times and put it back together. And if you are skipping stitches or you hear an occasional like metal hitting metal, double check that your needle is straight. You may need to switch it out. Also, if you have real inexpensive thread, you might see it separating and like growing a little fuzzball right here. You need to snip it and rethread it again so it's fresh. To remove the material, double check that your needle has cleared the material. If not, use the dial on top to raise it, lift the foot, and now, right here, pull several inches. Okay. And now pull it away. This prevents your needle from getting bent. If you're pulling thread down here and it has to go through the tension plates, it's going to bend your needle. And now you can cut it off with scissors, or you can use this nice handy thread cutter in front. Now I can simply put my thread under the foot again, put it toward the back, and I'm ready for the next sewing job. Let's take a look at threading a bobbin. You remove the bobbin by sliding open the top, and you just lift this out. Note that the bobbin is inserted so the thread is winding clockwise. Has an image here to help you. So place the bobbin pin, and it's sort of keyed. Just put it right like that. Place your empty bobbin right like that. And it uses a class 15 metal bobbin, not plastic. Now I'm going to thread the bobbin with red thread. I'm going to remove this. Make sure the thread comes off to the left. And again, it doesn't screw in, it just pushes in. I'll go ahead and remove this. We're going to thread this eyelet and this eyelet. If needed, use your little threader, it could be helpful. Okay, and now put this through here. Now take the thread, put it through the top of the bobbin. There. So hold this very tight and slide this to handheld and turn it on for a few seconds so it does a few spins. Now that it's started, we can cut this off and just continue. If you want, put it on desktop. Now pushing this is going to turn it on, and it's going to stay on until I turn it off. So once my bobbin's full, I will turn it off. That's enough. So I remove this. Now I'm going to rethread this to get it ready for sewing. So hold your bobbin with the thread coming off to the left and place it in there. And now, by hand, we're going to make sure the needle goes down once and back up. And now gently pull the top thread. And you see, you have to grab it. It pulls up the bobbin thread from the bottom. And now we just replace the cover. And there is no tension adjustment for the bobbin thread. It's controlled automatically, some type of magnetized compartment. To replace the needle, make sure the needle is as high as it goes. So that's when this is up. We can go ahead and unthread this. Okay. And now, you see this little flat thing here? We have to turn this. So I'm just going to turn this to the left a little bit, get it loose. The whole thing gets loose very quick. Slide the needle out. And it's good to check if you're having any stitch problems. Make sure your needle is straight. To put the needle back in, make sure the flat side is to the right. The book says left or right, but I'll just put it back like it was. Put the tip in first so it fits real well. And then slide it up there. Now hold it up there until you tighten this a little bit. And I will go ahead and use my pliers to put it back. That's the basics of the Singer Stitch Quick. It's very important to make sure you have it threaded right, that your needle is not bent, and that for every sewing job, do a little test area and check your tension. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.